Hello. Right now we're going to take notes 4 on multiplying fractions. So at the top of your note sheet, wherever you're keeping your notes, make sure you have notes 4 and then the title multiplying fractions. Here are some important facts about multiplying fractions before we do a couple of examples. The first thing is that you're not allowed to multiply with mixed numbers. The first thing you always have to do is make sure that your fractions are written as improper fractions. You cannot, let me wiggle this around so it really glues in your brains. You cannot multiply with mixed numbers. Sometimes you can add them and add the wholes and add the parts, but with multiplying fractions, you are not allowed to do that. You have to change them to improper fractions. I have 3 steps for multiplying fractions. The first is to cross cancel. I'll talk about what that means specifically as we work through some example problems. But cross canceling means looking at the numbers diagonal from each other and trying to take out any common factors. What it is it's simplifying the problem before multiplying so that you have smaller numbers, because we know that multiplying our numbers can get really big really fast because it's just repeated addition. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to multiply across. When you add fractions, you have to get a common denominator, and then you have to just add the top, the numerators, and the denominator stays the same. But when you multiply, you don't need a common denominator. You just do top times top over bottom times bottom. Fractions are tricky because each operation has their own thing that it wants to do. So adding and subtracting, you have to get a common denominator. Multiplying fractions, you don't. You do top times top over bottom times bottom. That's what multiply across means. And then the last thing you need to do is you need to convert the fraction if needed. What I mean by that is if you end up with an improper fraction, we're going to convert it back to a mixed number. We're always going to simplify everything as much as possible. We're going to switch and do a couple of examples now. I wrote down the notes here of what steps we're going to do, and we're going to start with this one. There are no mixed numbers here, so we're going to start by cross-canceling. And what I mean by cross-cancel is we're going to look at the numbers that are diagonal from each other and think, do 5 and 15 have any common factors? Do 5 and 15 have any number that I can divide out for both of them? In this case, it's 5. So what we do is we're going to divide the top and the bottom by the same number. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So we cross out the 5 and we're replacing it with a 1. And we cross out the 15 and replace it with the 3 because 15 divided by 5 is 3. Then we look at the 18 and the 8 and the 16. You might say, oh, they both have a 4 in common. So you can take out a 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 16 divided by 4 is 4. But then you notice 4 and 2 still have a common factor. That's because 4 originally wasn't the greatest common factor. It was just a factor. You can go back again then and take out another common factor, and you're left with 1 and 2 after dividing. So this is kind of messy, but the numbers I have on top are 1 and 1, and on the bottom I have a 2 and a 3. The second step we're going to do is we're going to multiply across. So we look at the numbers on top, and we're going to do top times top. 1 times 1 is 1 over bottom times bottom. 2 times 3 is 6. And then I look to see if I can simplify that. I cannot, so my final answer is 1/6. Now, if cross-canceling is confusing, you're welcome to just do top times top over bottom times bottom, and you would have to multiply 5 times 8 and 16 times 15, and then you simplify that a ton, and you end up with the same answer. It's just sometimes more work to do it that way. For the next problem, I want you to see that there's not always something you can cross-cancel. If we look at the 1 and the 7, there's nothing in common, so we don't have to cross-cancel there. I sometimes only can cancel one direction. So in this case, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And then I do top times top over bottom times bottom. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 7 is 14. And I can't convert that. I can't simplify, so that's my answer. For the next one, again, we're looking at the numbers diagonal from each other to see, do they have any common factors? 6 and 32 are both even, so they have a common factor of 2. So we're going to divide that. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 32 divided by 2 is 16. You don't have to write what you're dividing by. It kind of gets a little bit messy when you do it like that. So if you want to just skip right to that, that's fine. 3 and 21 have a 3 in common. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. And then we do top times top over bottom times bottom. 3